Okay, so to get to our settings and preferences, all right, here's your shortcut here. So general settings, let's go through the essential ones. Dual monitors, if you want two monitors on the screen, meaning one picture being you, one picture being the other, and you could actually manipulate that, like if you have two screens, or if you have a computer screen, you have another monitor. I personally don't use that. I'm going to uncheck it. I accidentally checked it earlier. I don't need to see myself. I see myself in a little corner, but that option is there. Enter full screen with the participant shares their screen. I think this is good to have, so when they share their screen, you don't have to maximize it. It's just already there. Scale to fit shared content. Make sure that's checked. It should be already checked so it doesn't clip off anything. Prompt a confirmation before leaving the meeting. I would definitely do that so you don't accidentally close the meeting. So that's just kind of a double check right there. Show my meeting duration. Some people like to do that. You know, you have a clock on your computer. You can keep track of it that way. Whatever you prefer. And you know, here make sure you add Zoom to the menu bar so you can get to Zoom from many different ways. Side-by-side mode. This is similar to the dual monitors, but for screen sharing. I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, so those are your general settings. Okay, so video settings. Obviously, you can select your camera there. If your camera is not working, unplug it, plug it back in. If that doesn't work, then stop the program, come back in. If that doesn't work, then try another port, another USB port. If that doesn't work, then reboot. Okay, that goes for the same with the camera, and that's for the microphone. You know, there's just some options here. You know, these are preferences. Definitely enable the HD. If you're having a problem with the mirroring, you can flip it. In some cases, it doesn't work in some environments. I'm not sure why. I think it's the access to the webcam and the how Logitech is responding to the computer. So if this is not working for you, try to unplug, plug back in, reboot, and maybe it will work. Touch up your appearance. That's kind of the running joke with Zoom right now. It doesn't really do anything, to be honest with you, maybe if you're up close. Okay, so meetings, really the only thing I have checked is always show video preview dialog when joining a video meeting. That means that you're going to be able to see yourself prior to, okay? Everything else is all preference. The display up to 49 participants per screen. You know, if you want to expand that in your gallery view, then that's where you would do that. That's for your group lessons, your master classes, your webinars, and all of that. Spotlight my video when speaking. I wouldn't even worry about that because it automatically detects that anyways in the advanced features. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's go to audio. Okay, so right now you can see this is going up and down, green and red. This is where you would select your mic if you have something other than a computer mic. Same thing goes for the USB. Make sure to unplug and plug it back in, go through that troubleshooting process. If you have special headphones using special speakers, this is where that's going to be. And now what you want to do is make sure you mess around with these here, the input volume. If you're a saxophonist, drummer, or maybe the mic is just real close to the piano for some reason, you may want to put this input down, okay, if you hear it peaking or clipping. So be careful with that. You may want to mess around with the microphone settings, the automatic adjusting. That's going to basically kind of compress it a little bit, and it's kind of like we'll talk about the other feature to enable the original sound. So I'm not sure exactly how this is programmed, but I know that for some people it has worked. So it's going to be a matter of just tweaking listen back to the recordings, and see what works best. Okay, and we're skipping that. Join audio by computer when joining a meeting. That's very important. You do not want to have to do that every single time. And show in-meeting option to enable original sound. Very important, okay? This is a big one. You want to be able to do that while you're in the meeting. So if you hear the sound kind of going in and out, a big part of it is the background noise could be affecting that. So make sure that is enabled. And this is a cool feature for doing like webinars or group classes, temporarily unmuting yourself if you're muted, or in any application. Chat feature, I'm not going to even go over this. I don't. The standard features here are good, or the ones that should be there. So if you want to know more about that, definitely look up the settings on Google or on YouTube for Zoom. Virtual background. Hey, look at that. Okay, so if you have a green screen, you put it behind you, and it's not going to look like that, but it's going to be a lot better. If not, hey, it's kind of a cool feature for the kids. All right. You're not going to be able to see the instrument, though. That's the thing. So if you're doing like a group class, you're not doing any playing of the instrument, that'd be kind of fun. Recording. This is where you're going to go in and choose your location. This is very important. You really want to store these locally unless you do the paid account, because the cloud for Zoom is very limited in space. So this is where you would do that. Use external hard drive, please. Don't save it onto your computer desktop. That is the absolute worst place to store it. These are large files, okay? Let's see here. Record a separate audio file. I love this. All these, you're going to have a few different files that render at the very end of the recordings. This could be this could be like a podcast. They can listen to it throughout the week, especially for your like really good students that are really into it, that just absorb the information and they want to keep absorbing that and listening back to it. Optimization for third-party video editor. This is a have-to if you're going to do any kind of post-editing with these videos, either for marketing. Please make sure you have your parents' permission or students' permission. Or if you are, maybe you're doing some observations and you want to take that and you want to upload it, or make some changes to it before uploading. So add a timestamp. I really like this because I can tell my students, hey, go back to the 2-hour and 40-minute mark, 2:40. This is where we talked about so-and-so. So this is a really, really good feature here. They can write it down themselves. That's what I have my students do, if I remember. And then record video during this screen sharing. You do want to do that because if you're sharing, obviously you want to record. So I don't know whether there'd be an instance where you don't want to do that. Okay, so we're going to skip advanced features. We'll go to stats. So with stats, you can see how your computer is doing. Right now, overall, 23%, and I'm running a lot of stuff right now. If you're over 50%, it's going to get kind of like the yellow. That's probably not a good thing. You want to make sure that you're running, below 40 is good in terms of your processor. So this here, the bandwidth, network type, when we're connected, there's going to be all sorts of things there. So you can go into the audio and you can see if you have any audio loss here. Now, I'm going to do this in a separate video later, talk about how to do this, because I'm going to do a test, a series of tests, and show you how you can actually use that to your advantage and to actually see what's going on, to do some deep troubleshooting. Okay, so and then keyboard shortcuts. These are all the shortcuts to be able to get to all your major commands. Print them off. Go online, Zoom, keyboard shortcuts. You'll find them there. Print them off. That's the best way to do it. Accessibility. I don't use closed captioning because it's not very accurate. It's more accurate if you upload it to Facebook or YouTube. They've got a better generator for that, in my opinion. but try it out. Okay, so now we're going to go into the advanced features. That's going to take us onto our account on the website. Okay, so that's going to bring us right into the settings part under personal. We're going to start up here at profile. Okay, once again, you have your meeting ID number, and you can, from here, you could actually just do that, copy it, paste it, text it, email it, however you want to send it. Your students can get right into the room. Okay, so if you're worried about parents or students having technical difficulty getting the app installed, you don't need to do that. Now, if they have the ability to do that, if they have a desktop and you can get them to load it on their computer, much better, because then they have access to all these controls as well. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Everything else here is just kind of a summary of everything, okay? Summary of your account. This is the main thing right here under profile. Meetings. If you're scheduling meetings, all your content's going to be here. So we're not going to even worry about this. We will go to the personal meeting room. Once again, this is kind of a summary of your personal meeting room. And your personal meeting room is the room that you go to that's yours. Once again, here is the link. You can send that. You can copy directly from here and then paste it. And then it gives you your major options that you have available here, major meeting options. And I have the enable waiting room. We're going to get to that in just a moment. And you can start the meeting from here as well. Okay, webinars, just really quickly. You know, a lot of us are going to want to do these kind of things, especially for e-conferences. Those that are used to traveling and being hired to come and present, this is perfect for this. You have a large audience, and then you can set up the registration. Everything that you would do just for a normal type conference, but everything online. You can even monetize it, integrate PayPal into it. So webinars, great feature. It is a paid feature. So definitely look into that if you are a presenter and a teacher that normally does those things. Recordings, so I talked about earlier. Cloud recordings, don't use unless you have a paid account. It's very, very little, unless you just have a few students, little space. Local recordings, it's going to show you actually all your recordings that you've stored locally. I don't do anything with this. I don't need to. I mean, you can go in here, delete, but it's not taking up space. So there's nothing else we really need from this part. And finally, let's go into settings. Okay. So let's go through some of these, the important ones. Obviously, you want host video to be on and participants. Audio type, you want computer audio. Look, if you do telephone, just put it on speaker. Okay, that way, I mean, you can switch that in the middle of a lesson, but if you absolutely need to do that, that might help with latency. I haven't had a need to do that, so something I don't have experience with. Join before the host. So yes, you want this to be on, and these settings should be already on. They can get there. They can go into the waiting room if you have a waiting room feature enabled. Use the PMI to schedule a meeting, your personal meeting room. Once again, I would advise almost all of us to do that unless you have a way that you want to schedule your meetings specifically. There's almost every advantage to just using your PMI. Now, if you do not want to do the paid account, if you're afraid of going over the limit and all of that, then I would do a paid account if you're worried about that. If not, then maybe you do schedule the meetings, because if you do schedule the meetings, then you're not going to go over, and people are not going to be coming in early. Okay, so it's very important to figure out how you want to do that, or to schedule breaks between lessons. Okay, none of this you need here. Unless you want to do passwords, that's all preference. Okay, so we're going to skip all of this. Mute participants upon entry. You would do that in a group setting. Okay, otherwise, don't see the need for it. Meeting reminder, you know, we all have probably calendars that we use, right? Encryption, this is just for like certain operating systems, maybe older ones, and you may need to, it may require that, or maybe we're using the Zoom Room, which is the paid feature, and you need to be able to use some of the advanced features and be able to broadcast out live. I think it has something to do with that for sure. Okay, chat, keep that open just in case for troubleshooting, right? Or if people want to chat before the lesson, if you're doing a group lesson or doing a meeting of some sort. You know, private chat, you can allow people to do one-on-one as well. You can save the chats as well. I only do this for like troubleshooting stuff, so I can go back and remember steps that I went through for my teacher clients. Play the sound when participants join and leave. I leave this on. I'd like to hear that ding dong. I want to hear that, right? So I can occupy myself with other things. File transfer, I don't need this on, but those that use that feature, obviously you need that. I don't have these next four on here. These are all preferences, non-essential. Share Zoom windows during screen share. I think that's important to have that on. Same thing with screen sharing. If you want to use that particular feature, that's a big feature. One of the reasons why we use Zoom. And then we can do annotation, we can do the whiteboard, and then remote control. That allows us to take over the other person's computer. They're going to have to give you access and control for that. So I would advise you to be very tech savvy. And if you're not, don't worry about remote control. Okay? We're not here to give our students tech support. We're here to give them music lessons. So we need to have ways to work around that, and then afterwards we can focus on what the issue is. Okay, just going down. Okay, breakout room. This is a key one right here for your groups. I have remote support on, so that was not allowing me to, so let me do this. Okay, breakout room. So I think everybody kind of knows about this, hopefully. With larger groups, split them off into different virtual rooms. So you can check on how they're doing individually, either with practice or with their assignments. And then you can bring them all back together later. Okay? So really cool feature. Remote support, I have that on because not really for my students, for my teacher clients. So know what you're doing if you're going to do that. Closed captioning, all this is preference here. Virtual background, we talked about that, just a cool feature. None of this here. And then allow users to select original sound. You definitely want that on. You want to have that option so that way we can experiment with getting a better sound there. Waiting room. I think most of you are going to want to do this so that way people aren't bumping into each other. You can use the free account without worrying about limiting to 40 minutes. Okay. Don't do this one here. This one is the one that had like security privacy issues, even though they fixed it. It's basically you can link directly from online. I wouldn't see any need to do this unless someone can just download the app. They're having trouble with it, and you do it that way. Okay, they're using your computer, and then they can get through through the browser. So, I like this email notification here because sometimes I'll be working on stuff. I'll get an email before they even get into the room. Okay, sometimes I like, especially with my students in China and Australia, it takes like a minute to connect. So I like that. The blur snapshot is basically kind of a privacy thing for your desktop when you're screen sharing, making sure that you don't accidentally, and also on your iOS devices when you're switching apps, make sure that it doesn't see anything you don't want them to see. So just keep your desktop clean, all right? And that's pretty much it. This here is for broadcasting. If you want to do a live broadcast integrated with Zoom, you're going to need this key in this secret code. Okay, so we get to the recording features. you know, this is all kind of preference. Local recording, you know, if you want to do recording. And if you want to give participants permission. So if you don't record but the student wants to, you need to have this checked, okay? Automatic recording, feel free to do that if you want. And a disclaimer as well. So, and then the telephone options, I never use these, so feel free to experiment with it if you want to try this versus like a real telephone as a backup plan.